All right, fellas, let's talk about the two play-in games that happened tonight in the Western Conference. First, we're going to start with, could it be the end of the dynasty? Who knows? But the Warriors and the Kings played, and look, I'll own up to it. I was dead wrong. I thought the Kings were going to lose this game, but the Kings were able to pull through and just absolutely dominate the Warriors and put serious questions in the air of this, if this is the end of the Warriors dynasty with the big three of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Let's start with the Kings first because they deserve all the credit in the world. They really dominated, especially in the second half. Really, to start the game, if it wasn't for the Warriors' young bench players, Podziemski, Kuminga, Moses Moody, the Kings would have been up bigger in the first half. They were only up by 4 at halftime, but it was very apparent early on that the Kings were just smothering the Warriors, and they were reading a lot of the Warriors' pet stuff. They didn't do a lot of the Draymond split action, off-ball stuff, which is what the Warriors were known for, and that was kind of surprising. But if it's the Steph Curry pick and roll and it got into a 4-on-3 where Draymond's the decision maker, the Kings' rotations were just crisp. De'Aaron Fox was everywhere, poking the ball away. Domantas Sabonis was even rotating behind. He, disrupted a few lob plays from the Warriors. And then Keon Ellis, that was a guy that I talked about in my play-in preview a little bit. It was just somebody the Kings are going to have to rely on to make his open shots and just defend the hell out of Stephen Curry, which he absolutely did in this game. He was 3 of 4 from 3, had 3 steals, 2 where he just picked Steph Curry's pocket clean, and one of them was a transition layup or a transition attempt that was a foul, and then there was another one where Klay Thompson kind of didn't block it, but the refs didn't call it. There was like a 5 possession sequence in that third quarter where the refs were just letting whatever the fuck they wanted go. It was pretty wild, but the Kings defense was just smothering. Keegan Murray, another guy I highlighted in the preview, had a big game as well. 8 of 13 from 3. Just somebody that was hitting threes off movement, off the handoff. Really, and Stan Van Gundy pointed it out a few times, his few misses were just the ones that were really wide open. But I also thought he played pretty solid defense on Stephen Curry. Even in that third quarter when Stephen Curry was trying to hunt him a few times, Keegan Murray still held his own, but rebounded the ball well, was part of the relentless offensive glass pounding that the Kings gave to the Warriors. The Kings had 15 offensive rebounds. They had 9 to the Warriors 0 by halftime, I believe. The Warriors didn't start hitting the offensive glass until the third quarter, but the Kings deserve all the credit in the world for just the physicality, the rotations, smothering the shooters. Klay Thompson, in what possibly might be his last game for the Warriors, 0 for 10, 0 for 6, and I just felt bad for Klay. This channel knows my affinity with the Warriors, kind of watched their rise, into being a dynasty when I was in college. Well, Steph Curry was always one of my favorite players, going back to Davidson. So it did mess me up a little bit seeing how, the Warriors, this was the Warriors' last game, basically, or could be, but the Kings deserve all the credit, man, and I was dead wrong about the Warriors from the start of the season, and they have some serious questions to answer. I don't know how they're going to answer it, but I know Kuminga, that he's going to have to be a big part of it. If the Warriors want to get back to where they want to go, while Steph Curry is still on the last years of his deal and his career, Kuminga is going to have to be somebody that's going to have to make that leap next year. Podziemski needs to stay on this roster. They need to get younger, and the core is just getting older, but the Warriors need to find a way to get younger, have more shot creation beyond Steph Curry and Draymond Green doing split actions, because that version of the Warriors that we saw tonight, they looked slow, they looked tiny. Trey Lyles at small ball 5 was just moving people around in the paint. Alex Len was even getting in on the action a little bit. JaVale McGee was even getting in on the action in garbage time. And Domantas Sabonis, once again, pretty solid stat line. They really did play off of Sabonis like I thought they would, but Sabonis, I thought, did a good job just initiating the offense, going through the dribble handoff options, pounding the glass, taking advantage of smaller guys on the block, running the floor. He had a nice transition layup over Steph Curry. Just all around, the Kings did a great job, and Mike Brown was not playing around. Stephen Curry was not going to get 50 points in this game like he did in Game 7. They had 2 people trapping Steph. They had 3 people trapping Steph at once. The Warriors tried everything they could to get Steph open with screens, pitching the ball back to Draymond on the block, and then curling back around with a screen and getting the handoff from Draymond. And all the Kings did was just blitz it and force the Warriors to pass it to somebody else and see if they can beat them. And the Kings won that bet a lot. Now, by the way, before I even move on to the next one, Harrison Barnes had a good game as well. Somebody who has been much maligned in Sacramento, has not had a good year this year, but 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a fadeaway over Draymond Green, which I'm sure was not personal at all. And then the Kings are going to be moving on to face the Pelicans, who lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in the first play-in game. Really thought the Lakers were just going to run away with it. By the time it got to like 18 points in the second quarter and early in the third quarter, it just looked like another one of those games where the Lakers were just going to do to the Pelicans what they've done all regular season, which is just dominate them. LeBron's too big. Anthony Davis, played Jonas Valanciunas off the floor. But Zion Williamson just willed this team. This sucked tonight as a basketball fan. I'm going to be real with you because the game was great. It was very clear Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum were shaving points. No, I'm kidding. They weren't. But they were bad in this game. They were awful in this game. And Willie Green, as such, put those two on the bench the last 7 minutes of the game and let Zion cook. I might have some takes about the Pelicans in the offseason, by the way, because Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, when they were together, I forgot what the minus was, but it was over 13, I believe. And then when they were separate, when it was, the Brandon Ingram-led lineup or the Zion Williamson lineup, it was a positive scoring differential. So you could kind of already guess what I'm going to talk about maybe in the summer about the Pelicans. But Willie Green put those two on the bench and let Zion cook. And boy, did Zion will this team back into the game, because I thought it was over. They got it to about 5 before the end of the third quarter. And 3 minutes left. Zion ties it, 40th point, and comes down with what's now being reported, according to Shams Charania, as a hamstring strain. And that just sucks. It really sucks. Zion was all NBA caliber since the infamous in-season tournament in Las Vegas against these Lakers, ironically, where he was clearly out of shape. The conversation surrounding his weight had reached a nadir, and he just put his head down and he worked, and he lost 25 to 30 pounds. His defense over the last 2 months were by far some of the best defense I have ever seen Zion Williamson play. The Pelicans were leaning into point Zion. He was averaging 24, 5, and 5 on like 58% shooting since the new year. And he looked like he was really taking that step this year, taking his body seriously, staying on the court first and foremost. And then this happens, and I feel bad for the kid. You could tell he was clearly frustrated, threw the towel down and all that stuff. But that really just put a damper on everything. I mean, I could talk about how the Lakers were just sagging off of Zion, sagging off of Herb Jones. Yeah, Herb Jones, you're a 42% three-point shooter. We don't care. Take as many as you want. And then CJ McCollum just absolutely stinking up the joint. He was bad. But I guess at the end of the day, the Lakers move on. They get to play the Denver Nuggets. So good luck with that. But I hope Zion can play on Friday, but it does not look like he's going to be able to play. He had a hamstring injury like this last year where he was just dominant, and then he hurt his hamstring versus the Sixers, and then he was done, for the entire year basically. And you feel for the kid because it was clear he went through a lot. Played 70 games this year. Last year he played 29 games, and he was playing at an all NBA caliber level last year. And then this year he rounded into shape, figuratively and literally, and was just dominant, was dominating the Lakers, going right at Anthony Davis's chest. LeBron constantly lost him on the back cut a few times, lost sight of Zion Williamson while ball watching, had a few dunks, had a few drives, few pick and rolls. Really tried his best to defend LeBron. Zion is the only guy on that team that has the size, really, to match up against LeBron. As good of a defender, as great of a defender Herb Jones is, as long of a defender as Trey Murphy is, as awesome of an individual defender as Dyson Daniels is in his, however many minutes he gets. They are all just too small for LeBron, too skinny. And Zion is really the only guy that can guard LeBron. And I thought he did his damnedest, but also gave it to LeBron and Anthony Davis on the other end. D'Angelo Russell had a fantastic game too, by the way. He seems to have found his comfort zone, especially since, the new year. And then Gabe Vincent, after being injured and then not playing well in the regular season, I guess when it's play-in time and playoff time, Gabe Vincent, one thing he is going to do, he's going to get you a key strip or a key charge, and he's going to make a 3 or 2. And that's what he did tonight, playing off of LeBron. There was also a nice skip pass to the corner LeBron had, where Vincent was like on the very edge of the corner, almost out of bounds, caught it, shot it, hit the top of the backboard, but it was still a really good pass and read and a good shot that you want someone like Gabe Vincent to take. But the Lakers move on. The Pelicans now, they have to try to win without Zion and hope that Brandon Ingram does not have the game that he had against the Lakers tonight, where he was 4 for 12 and a -16. That's just terrible. And Jonas Valanciunas, he kind of lasted longer in this game as compared to the game on Sunday. But at the end of the day, they still went back to Larry Nance at center. They still went back to Zion at 5 a little bit. But maybe you could play Jonas Valanciunas in this game against the Kings. Who knows? A weird set of games. Just a weird set of games. One that was just dampered with an injury, where just a reminder that basketball fans can't have nice things, I guess. And then we saw what could be the end of a dynasty. But can't wait for the next set of playing games.